Our last form that we're going to look at is intercept form. And this one I actually think is one of the easier forms, although sometimes students make it more complicated than it really needs to be. If you look at the form, you've got your a value, which is going to affect how wide or narrow your graph is and if it opens up or down. But then you're given the intercepts in the equation. It's basically a standard form equation that's already been factored. So if you take this example here, the negative number we're going to discount when just trying to find the x-intercepts. And we're going to basically take the opposite sign of what we're given. So our intercepts, because we've got minus p and minus q, those were the letters that were chosen for this form. We're going to use minus 4 and positive 8. Those are the two forms that are going to be used for our intercepts. Y-intercept, same thing as we've done before, where you plug in 0 for x. In this case, y equals negative 0 plus 4 and 0 minus 8. And when we go ahead and evaluate that, we get negative 4 times negative 8, which ends up being positive 32. And so we have a y-intercept of 0, 32. Now the last thing we have to do is the axis of symmetry. And you'll notice that compared to the other two forms where I did the x-intercept and y-intercept last, this one you actually do have to do that first, because we're going to use the x-intercepts to be able to find the axis of symmetry and then the vertex. So if you think of a quadratic graph, this axis of symmetry mirrors the left and the right side of the graph. Well, if we know that it crosses the x-axis at negative 4 and 8, the vertex is going to be exactly in the middle of those 2 points. So the axis of symmetry is going to be the average. So negative 4 plus 8 divided by 2. So in this case, that's going to give us 2. So our axis of symmetry is just x equals 2. That's exactly the middle between negative 4 and 8. And if you look at it, it's 6 units towards the right and 6 units from the left for those two x-intercepts. Now, the last thing we're going to do with the vertex, we actually use that. So if you remember, the axis of symmetry is going to cut through the vertex. This line gives us the x-coordinate for the vertex. So I know that 2 is going to be my x-coordinate for the vertex. I have to plug back into my original equation to find out what the y value that corresponds to 2 is. So my y value is going to be negative 2 plus 4 times 2 minus 8. So I just plugged in 2 for x, and then I'm going to go ahead and evaluate it. And so negative 6 times negative 6. So if you go ahead and figure that out, that ends up being positive 36. And so my vertex is at 236. So again, I got my x-intercepts that I got first. I have my y-intercept that I got by plugging in 0 for x. My axis of symmetry is the average there of x equals 2. And my vertex, I use the axis of symmetry to get that vertex, in this case of 236.